Maybe we've got too much time on our hands, but there is a massive community of film fans out there who like nothing more than picking apart movies and pointing out the errors in the story that don't quite sit right, and taking great pleasure in spotting continuity errors in the smallest details. And to clarify before we begin, the joy here isn't improving that something sucks because it has a mistake in it. Quite the contrary, in fact, as most of the movies I'm going to talk about are bona fide classics, but rather it's just fun to see where things slip through that add to the charm of each flick. And with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 movie mistakes you won't believe made it to screen. Number 10, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the repeated extra. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a silly movie full of Sam Raimi charm. And while it might not have been the monumental MCU restarter that people wanted, I still think it's a bloody good time. And that's partly because you can tell everyone from the main stars to the extras, one of which, by the way, went viral for giving a hilariously scene-stealing background performance at a funeral early on, is having a great time. But if there's one extra who is not having a good time, it's this one dude in the opening fight scene who flees the scene on 4 different occasions. In each of these 4 shots, the actor looks up, sees the monster, and then just hightails it out of there, reappearing in front of Doctor Strange to do it all again with each cut. Now, this is obviously a continuity mistake, and with this being a COVID shoot, it does make sense that the crew had limited extras at their disposal, but it still makes for hilarious viewing. The idea that this random guy is stuck in a horrible time warp, forever doomed to run away from the same monster, but seemingly never reach safety, makes for an unintentional multiversal little character arc. Number 9, Pulp Fiction, The Magic Bullet Holes. Here's the tip: if you know you're about to shoot a scene that requires environmental changes as integral to the plot as these bullet holes, which convinced Jules in Pulp Fiction to give up his work as a hitman and go and find himself, then you should probably make sure they don't appear before the scene that's supposed to cause them. Though Quentin Tarantino is a notorious film junkie, he couldn't stop this infamous gaffe that showed off the bullet holes before any gun was actually fired, and clearly hoped that no one would notice the whacking great holes in the wall behind Jules and Vincent, but of course we did. It's also not hard to see why Jules was so shocked not to be dead, considering 3 of said bullet holes are clearly visible behind his body at impossible points of impact due to where the hitman is standing. So yeah, with that in mind, perhaps he actually was protected by God. Number 8, North by Northwest, The Psychic Child. A classic shot from a classic movie, and a classic goof that no doubt would have got the offending child in a spot of bother with Alfred Hitchcock if the director had discovered it, which he presumably did. Once you notice this goof, you can never unsee it. Single-handedly spoiling a hugely important scene in the thriller, a young extra manages to preempt the firing of a gun by sticking his fingers in his ears well before the shots are fired in clear sight of the camera. Quite how this was missed, we'll never know unless it was deemed charming, which it definitely is. Number 7, Teen Wolf, The Wardrobe Malfunction. When you employ extras, you kinda take your life into your own hands. It's always risky that they might leak set images or whisper spoilers online, but you probably don't expect them to risk ruining a perfect take by standing up with their pants undone. But that's exactly what happened in Teen Wolf. A mistake big enough to haunt your nightmares for years to come happened right at the end of the classic 80s supernatural comedy Teen Wolf, starring a young, hairy Michael J. Fox. In the climax, amidst a jubilant, cheering crowd, the offending character decided it was a good idea to stand up despite having their zipper undone, and then fumble around in order to cover up and put the trousers back together. And hey, look, we've all been there, haven't we? Experiencing the panic of realizing that you're not fully secure. But thankfully for us, most of us have never experienced this while shooting a Hollywood movie. Number 6, Jaws, Comfy Quint. One of the greatest death scenes in any film ever, the brutal end to Quint in Jaws is one of the film's most iconic and memorable moments, thanks in part to the actor's incredible performance as the grizzled sea dog, and also the graphic nature of the attack. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's a great big fake shark that doesn't look all that authentic these days, but good artistry can usually transcend the limitations of the equipment. The only thing that sticks out in the scene somewhat is the very visible presence of a nice, comfy cushion under Quint's back. Of course, to stop the fake shark's fake teeth from really puncturing his soft, fleshy body, or at least presumably. And just to stick the knife in on the scene a little bit more, Quint also lets go of Brody's arm twice, but hey, it's still a masterpiece. Number 5. North by Northwest, The Leaning Policeman. A movie so good we had to feature it on this list twice. Here we have another goof from Hitchcock's thriller classic. And again, one to blame on a lesser character attempting to steal Cary Grant's thunder by being generally a little bit rubbish. So, when Grant is arrested at the auction house, he's put in the back of a police car along with an officer of the law. And the unaware actor forgets to lean as the car simulates a turn around the corner. What makes the scene even better is Cary Grant's clearly annoyed response to the actor playing the policeman, who he prods to remind him, much too late, to do the lean. Surely this scene could have been reshot with the policeman given his cue, rather than Hitchcock leaving in the goof and Grant's hilarious, grumpy response in the final film. But then again, then we wouldn't have this magnificent scene to talk about all these years later. Number 4, Gladiator, Gas Power. In the Battle of Carthage reenactment sequence in Gladiator, one of the chariots is appended and crashes into the wall of the arena. But before it hits the wall, you can clearly see a gas canister that is revealed when whatever is covering it on the back of the chariot falls off. Now, I'm still not entirely sure why a horse-drawn vehicle would require gas power anyway, but capturing the fact on screen of a supposedly historically accurate film is just a little bit sloppy. The film is actually full of errors like this in terms of continuity, poor production errors, and historical inaccuracies. Not that it makes it a bad movie by any means, but this one sticks out a mile as the worst offender. Number 3, The Goonies. What octopus? If you're going to delete a scene featuring a giant octopus, then it's probably best to follow up that cut with further edits of any subsequent references to the giant octopus as well, in case one of your characters appears to have completely lost the plot and started imagining adventures that never actually happened. When asked at the end of The Goonies, though, what the scariest part of their adventure was by their parents, who seem oddly unaffected by their harrowing tales of kidnapped, murder, and decomposed bodies, Data says the octopus, referring to a sequence of the monster attacking the gang in the lagoon where One-Eyed Willie's galleon rests. For some reason, the edit missed his answer though, making him look like he'd been on some hallucinogenic substances while his buddies tried to escape the Fratellis. Still, it's funny as a completely unexpected and random answer. Number 2, Jurassic Park, The Media Player. It seems that no matter how high your SFX budget and how impressive and realistic your dinosaur creations may be, it's no use expecting perfection when all it takes is one simple mistake to make the illusion come crashing down. And case in point, during the scene in which Dennis Nedry plots his escape from the island, with his stashed dino embryos in tow of course, he's seen conversing with someone down on the docks while simultaneously watching the live video feed of the location. Except the media player bar at the bottom of the window clearly reveals the live feed to be a video that Nedry has just played. Clearly, all the attention was on the dinosaurs, and rightly so. Number 1, Commando, The Dummies. Proving that classics can get away with murder, this sequence from the iconic Arnie action movie Commando is arguably one of the worst examples of SFX in the entire genre. Just a small step up from the usual quality of those terrible made-for-sci-fi movies. In honesty, the shot is only one mistake from a film absolutely littered with goofs, which suggests the crew might not have had the necessary budget to employ someone to actually watch their film before it was released. But then I suppose we wouldn't have got this shot, where we get the conspicuous sight of barely human-looking dummies attached to poles that somehow survive the explosions still standing up. And you know what? Commando absolutely rules for moments like this, and honestly, the amount of goofs just add to the OTT nature of the movie and the charm of it anyway. Plus, I also like the idea that someone saw this and just said, yep, that rules, that's fine, keep it in. Seriously, you are doing the Lord's work.